All right, hello everybody. Welcome to another hand plane video. So this one's going to be on setting up and pieces of the hand plane. So here we have a number 5 hand plane in the different parts. We've got the knob at the front, toed at the back, and then there's the plane base and also the bed of the plane. Okay, we also call this the sole. This is actually a corrugated sole, which just means it has these grooves in it. Supposedly easier to push, but really the big deal here is just it's easier to flatten because you're removing less material. Okay, and then you also have an adjustment lever here. So if you turn this to the right, that moves the plane blade forward, which means it's coming out the bottom more, which increases the depth of cut. You also have the throat here, and you can see that this is set for a very fine cut right now. So smaller the throat, the closer that or the smaller the throat needs to be, and the blade's just sticking out just a hair. And then we also have a lateral adjustment lever right here, so this will move the blade actually to the left or the right. Okay, and we'll get into a little bit more later, but just know that this is going to now cant the blade if there's some sort of idiosyncrasy and it's not pointing straight out the mouth opening. We also have the lever cap, which I'm going to go ahead and pop off right here. Okay, easy giveaway on the lever cap. It's got a lever on it. This just holds pressure down on the entire assembly here. Keeps vibration from happening, and that really is our enemy with the hand plane. We don't want a lot of vibration. And there's also a replacement blade in this one. This happens to be a Hawk replacement blade. And again, we're trying to avoid that vibration. So this is a nice thick blade and chip breaker. So the blade itself is the long piece here, okay, and then the chip breaker is this piece on the top. And you can see it's actually going to break the chips as it's making the cut. So the wood gets introduced to the blade right at the tip, and then is almost immediately met by the chip breaker, which actually creates the shaving. Okay, and these guys separate, and I've just ground off a regular old screwdriver here, so it's got a little bit more flat, because the thing you don't want is a bunch of wiggle when you're actually loosening this. It can actually damage the screws, the screw piece here, so I'm just gonna pop this off. Okay, and the main thing you want to do here is just make sure that you don't run the chip breaker along the edge. So I'm actually going to move this guy back, flip it over to the side. Okay, and that will allow this to pass through. Okay, so that screw passes right through that opening there. Okay, and to reassemble, I'm just going to go ahead and flip here, and I want to get that right to the edge as close as I can. Without going over. I'll try to catch that in the light a little bit. So no more than a 1/16 of an inch away, is where you kind of want that to be set up. Okay, and we're gonna snug this guy down again with that screwdriver. Make sure we didn't move this around. And that's looking pretty good. Okay, and then there's also, other piece of this is gonna be the frog. Okay, here you can see that lever working. So watch this knob right here. You can see that's flipping back. It goes to the left, and when it goes to the right, it's moving forward. Okay, so that's the adjustment. It goes in this notch right here. Okay, this screw holds down the lever cap. You can adjust the screw in and out to make sure that the tension on the lever cap is correct. And you'll know it's correct when the whole assembly doesn't move around on its own, but still allows the adjustments for the lateral adjustment here. Okay, and you can see how that mechanism works as well. And that also goes in this slot here on the blade. Okay, so that's what allows you to cant the blade back and forth. Again, the throat opening here, this is the frog. It also goes into the plain body. Okay, and the throat, again, we can adjust that throat opening by moving this frog back and forth, and it adjusts by these 2 screws here. Okay, a lot of the ones at school will also have a frog adjustment back here. Okay, and that's a different type of plane, but parts are basically going to be very similar. Okay, so we'll stick this guy back together. Okay, make sure that this screw goes in this little opening here. So we're going to go ahead and lock that there. Okay, make sure this is moved a little bit further back. Okay, make sure it also really engages with the frog here. It's easy to accidentally have this kind of setting up on the screw and not being quite flush. So just make sure that's all the way in there. Okay, and then cap or lever cap. Okay, and it should just be one thumb. Should just be able to have to press just a little bit in order to lock it down. And that just means nothing's moving around in here, but it still allows that lateral adjustment, and it still allows me to move the piece back and forth. And I don't need, you know, some sort of other accoutrement to be able to pop this loose. It should just be one thumb pressure, and that's it. So those are the PC parts of the hand plane, and just your basic setup of how all the parts go together. Again, just make sure that this is nice and seated against the frog, and that the blade is all the way pulled back, which it is right now. And then we're good to go for the next part, which will be the setup for our cut.